Hi everyone, my name is KanwalOjha and I am a 23-year-old with endometriosis. I was diagnosed at the age of 14 and I initially got my period and started having symptoms relating to endometriosis at the age of 11. So it took a few years of having really bad cramps, having really bad abdominal pain, vomiting, diarrhea, heavy periods, for me to receive my diagnosis. And I think the largest barrier that caused me to take so long in getting my diagnosis was that I was so young. People tend to not take children's pain as seriously sometimes because children aren't able to verbalize it properly, or they don't have, the skills or resources to learn more about what they're going through. So at the age of 11, I didn't think to go on Google and look up my symptoms. I couldn't spell a lot of the symptoms even I was having. I didn't understand that they were all patterns and they were associated in this way. All I could do was tell my parents, tell my school nurse, tell my teachers that I was in pain, I was feeling unwell. This was not like anything I had ever experienced before. And it took a long time of me continuously saying this and me needing to leave gym class, me needing to leave school, me not being able to keep up with the other girls my age around me, for me to be able to go see a doctor. But I was lucky enough to go see a gynecologist. And initially, they're like, it's a heavy period, it's fine. But eventually, at the age of 14, I finally saw a doctor who was ready to do a laparoscopy on me, even though I was younger, and was ready to kind of see if I really did have something more than just bad menstrual cramps. But I think that it took a lot of me pushing and saying, no, I'm in pain. I don't know what's happening. I don't understand the science behind it, the medicine behind it, but I just know that this isn't okay and I can't keep having this pain every month for this long. And I think another barrier that comes into play, not just with being young, but any age woman, especially when you're a woman of color, there is a pattern historically in medicine for people to perceive the pain of women less than that of men, and especially that of brown and black women even more so than other women of color. There have been studies that have shown that pain that we say we feel is not perceived the same way it would have been if a man or a white person was explaining this pain, was sharing this pain they were going through. So it takes even more advocating on our behalf for people to take us seriously and realize we're not whining, we're not, exaggerating, we are not being dramatic. This is our real pain. And I think that that's something that is so important to remember, whether you are a young girl or you're an older woman, whatever your experience is, it's real, your pain is real, and you are resilient and strong, and sometimes it unfortunately takes us having to advocate for ourselves more so than others may have to for someone to take us seriously. But I'm so glad that I did. I had some years of really bad pain. I had a year or two of less pain, and now I'm unfortunately having some flare-ups and symptoms again, but those symptoms feel so much more manageable when I feel like a doctor or just those around me believe me and they're listening to me and someone is working towards, helping me out, rather than being someone where people just keep ignoring and they keep kind of brushing it on their rug and saying it's normal pain, it's normal symptoms. Really fighting for myself and articulating what I'm feeling and pushing to have people understand that it's not normal, and finally having people understand that and realize that. I think that has helped me so much just mentally deal with my pain and symptoms. Another added layer, I think, aside from just the color of my skin, is also my cultural background. So I am Pakistani, and I think in my culture, like many other cultures, women's health is not a topic that is discussed often. So when I started having this pain, I initially was only telling my mom, and then I would slowly start telling my dad, but I was warned by them to not tell other people. I was warned by them especially to not tell my other brown friends. When we ever had, other brown family friends come visit, other Pakistani, Indian family friends, my parents would always be sure to, make sure my birth control pills weren't lying around, because what would our community say if they knew a 14, 15-year-old was taking birth control pills? What would they say? I remember them even telling me at times, if you absolutely need to tell someone, tell your friends, tell your American friends from school, don't tell your other friends from our Pakistani community, because what will they say? And I think that my parents were coming from what they thought was a good place, but for me as a child, that was really hard because I felt really stigmatized, and I felt like, wow, I have something that is considered unspeakable. I have something that I'm going through that I can't talk to other people about because they will think lesser of me and my family. And I couldn't fully understand why that was at the time, but I just knew that it wasn't fair, because if I had another ailment that had nothing to do with me being a woman, but just any other thing going on, I knew that wouldn't be the case, and no one would tell me to not talk about it to other people. And I remember even, being in school, trying to talk to friends about it, being like, so have you gotten your period? How are you feeling? And no one seemed to want to talk about it. And that kind of fueled it even more. Like, this is something people don't talk about. Women are told to not talk about this. And especially women from certain cultural groups, cultural backgrounds, different ethnicities, it's been ingrained in us to not talk about it. And we, for all the years of being told we are lesser than, or being told that we have less of a voice than our counterparts, whether it is people who are not people of color or people who are not women, we feel smaller and smaller every time we are shut down in this way. So I think, aside from me having barrier to access to my diagnosis, because of me being a child or my pain not being perceived as real, I think another part of it was when I did have my diagnosis and my pain started being acknowledged, I was really closed off with who I could talk to about it, just because of the societal stigmas and stereotypes associated with these illnesses. And when I got older and I started, Googling more and trying to find forums or books or something, none of the women who were out there talking about this looked like me. All the pictures of women, all the stories I saw on Google or in books, all the ones I had seen were white women. And I thought, no one is experiencing what I'm experiencing here. Yes, they have the pain I have, but do they have kind of the social added layers of mental pain and frustration that I'm feeling? And I felt really, really alone. I just felt like no one around me who looked like me was experiencing it. And yes, they had the symptoms, but did they have those tough conversations with their parents? Were they told to not tell a lot of close people in their lives about what they were going through? I was told to not tell my older brother about what I was going through, because I was told in our culture we don't discuss these things. And he was my best friend. How could I not tell him? And I went through around a decade of pain before I told him what I was feeling. So I think that was extremely, extremely difficult. But now, having grown up a bit more, doing some of my own research and all of that, I kind of am feeling more and more empowered to talk about it. And just me being a little bit more open, whether it's on social media or in conversations, so many women who look like me, who have similar experiences to me, are now opening up and are saying, thank you for talking about this. I actually have experienced something similar, but I was told to not talk about it. And they realize that they might have something similar to what I have. And it just took me having a conversation with them and being honest with them for them to realize, their story might be one that's similar to mine and they should seek help as well. And one more thing that I think is really important to note is that I kind of realized, the privilege of having these conversations when a lot of my doctors would ask my parents, has anyone in your family had similar symptoms before? My parents were both dumbfounded. They would say, we don't know if women in our families had these symptoms or pain. No one would know. No one would have talked about it. No one would have asked them. It's not something they could discuss openly. And so I think just us taking a little bit of that strength to have these conversations and realize that we're not alone, but maybe we need to be the first ones to open the conversation for us to realize that we are not going through this alone. There are other women who look like us, who have this pain, who have this disease and all these horrible symptoms that come with it. So if you're someone who has those symptoms and hasn't heard anyone who looks like you who has it, just know that people are quiet for a number of different reasons. But if you have the strength, I empower you to advocate for yourself and give others the space to advocate for themselves as well, and kind of share that solidarity This is not an easy disease to live with. It's really, really hard at times, but it makes it much easier when you realize you have people in your corner who have similar experiences to you in this. So I wish you the best, and I hope you find relief, whether it's physically or mentally, and I hope you know I stand with you.